A new Australian feature film is being released courtesy of Bounty Films, and it's a film called The Debt Collector. And there we are. There's the the illustration of the DVD and so on. So it's my great pleasure to be speaking to the director of The Debt Collector, Richard Wolstonecroft. Richard, welcome to again to Movie Metropolis.
Mate, good to see you. How are you, Peter? Just going to hold up the Blu-ray and the DVD. So it's the first time my films have come out on Blu-ray. So there you go. It's interesting, isn't it? You know?
Oh, excellent stuff. All right. So tell me, how did the film come about?
Well, I've been working on this film for a while. It's just yeah. I'm just going to put okay. Sorry, just a little window had popped up saying, "Is this recording okay?" I said yes. Yeah. So I actually came up with the idea. I made a film called The Beautiful and Damned that I released around 2009, and then I did a documentary on the porn business in Los Angeles called The Last Days of Joe Blow, and I got $100,000 from a producer in Australia to go shoot that, and I had to travel overseas, 2 or 3 times to film that. And when I was traveling doing that, I made another film called The Second Coming, which was originally meant to be like about, say, 7 short films that were about 10 minutes long, that would, 10 to 12 minutes long, that would make up a kind of portmanteau feature. But each short turned out to be half an hour long. And so then I edited them all together into 2 features called The Second Coming, Volume 1 and 2. And I finished that around 2015. I think I finished the second volume of that. So, I wanted to do something that was kind of a bit more avant-garde for me, a bit more experimental, the Second Coming thing. And I just made a documentary. And I thought, well, I want to go back, to what I really like doing, which is sort of, crime stuff, films. And obviously we played a few films at the Melbourne Underground Film Festival that dealt with crime. Scott Ryan's The Magician. We played that. We discovered Scott Ryan at our festival. He made a fantastic independent film, The Magician, which was about a hitman. And then that was, picked up by Nash Edgerton, who, kind of spruced it up and released it commercially. And then, over the next 12 years, he was developing Mr. In Between, which became a big show. I'm sure you're probably aware of that.
Yeah.
And so, it was in that milieu of independent cinema and wanting to do something a bit more gangster orientated. So, and I wanted to work with John Brumpton. He had a little part in the Beautiful and Damned. He played like just a 1 or 2 days work. So I thought I really want to work with John Brumpton again, because he'd worked with John Hewitt on a film called Red Ball in the late 90s, which I've always loved. John Hewitt's a really good friend of mine. We made our first film together, Bloodlust, when I was 21 and he was 31. So, about 30 years ago now. So, I just, there's a Sydney writer by the name of Matthew Clayfield. He used to go under the name Esoteric Rabbit. We were sort of friends and, through the festival. And so, I came up with this idea, and then I developed it with Matthew, and we wrote the script together. And, we went through, probably of all the scripts I've written, it went through about 9 drafts, which is the most I've ever worked on any particular script. And then finally, it was around the time Donald Trump got in. That was when it was like 2016. That was like, okay, now I'm going to make it. So I think I made it in late 2016, 2017.
Uh-huh. How interesting. And you've got a really good cast, apart from John Brumpton. You've got Roger Ward, John Flaus, wow.
Yep.
Andy McPhee. Yeah.
He's in my film Bloodlust as well, so he's been in a couple of films of mine over the years.
So harnessing all of these...
a foot fetishist. He played a foot fetishist.
A foot
we got to give him, because he's such a, a classic guy and a legend in the industry. I always like to give him a kind of a tasty role, and good on him, because he always agrees to do it. So that's nice of him. He's a great guy.
As a priest, absolutely, he's very good in The Debt Collector, as is everyone else.
Dodgy priest.
Yeah, a dodgy priest, exactly. That could have been the subtitle of the film.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. So, how easy was it to get your cast? Because, and you've also got Kristen Condon and Jessica Borg and Frank Howson, and that could have been his last film, perhaps?
It is his last film, sadly. We lost Frank in, I think it was February this year. Very sad, very sad. He was he was the kind of festival, the Melbourne Underground Film Festival's kind of patron or whatever, and he announced on his page. That's when I knew it was serious. I mean, I sort of knew he was pretty ill, but he said he was making his last public appearance at my festival last year. So I thought, oh, the things aren't looking too good. And he went out New Year's Eve. We all went out to a big party New Year's Eve this year, to Carl Howell's big. He's a friend of Frank's, and he's a multimillionaire, and he has this big kind of Gatsby party every year. He's got a mansion in Toorak. We had this huge party. So Frank was there, and he was looking quite thin and everything, and and then he went up to Sydney. I think he was going to try and have a last-minute operation, but they weren't able to do it. So he passed away in mid-February, which is very sad. And so yeah, it's a tribute to Frank, and I'm going to obviously dedicate this year's Melbourne Underground Film Festival to him. But look, a lot of the people I got in the film, and it does have an extraordinary cast. I mean, it's got people like Glenn Maynard, Mel Kennard, Robert Morgan, Jack Ellis, who was in Mr. In Between recently with Scott Ryan again. Ray Mooney, who did Every Night, he's in it. As I mentioned, John Flaus, Antonius Bexanatis, who's like an older actor who's been around and been in so many independent films. Neil Foley from Monster Pictures has got a little part in it. As you mentioned, Kristen Condon's in it. She's like the kind of bit of the it girl from the indie film scene. She always would hang around, my film festival and also the Monster Fest and stuff. So, I was just able to. I guess one of the good things about running a festival like mine is you meet a lot of independent talent. Gregory Packus was in it. Lee Mason was in it. So Nathan Hill was in it, of course. Nathan is, independent filmmaker himself, and he really helped out with the post-production of this film. Obviously, when you make an independent film, it's a real struggle. It took me about 8 years to finish. To go from, I guess, idea to where it is now, where it's out. So it's not like it hasn't happened to me before. When I made the film Pearls Before Swine in the 90s, I shot that around 1996. And then by the time it premiered at the Stockholm International Film Festival in 1999, and then went to about another 4 or 5 film festivals, went to Sitges, went to a festival in Mexico called the Hijic Film Festival, and they all flew me there. So I attended all these screenings. It was interesting. And it came out, I think, in DVD, around 2002. So that took about 6 to 7 years to get out from, Woe to Go. So, it's not really that unusual. It's sad, though, because I would like to, be making a film every year, and because I've got enough ideas in my head, but, it's always a matter of getting the financing together and, getting everything in order. And, we're quite proud of it. And it's, I think it's done a good job. It's come out all over the world. Watch it on, Google Play. It's on Vimeo. Vimeo is a good platform. It's like, I think $4 or $5 to watch. It's nothing. So, check it out there. And it's on YouTube as well. And or if you want a hard copy, which I always like doing, as you can see all these movies here. There's just Blu-rays and DVDs everywhere in my house, man.
Yes, I echo that. How easy was it to find locations?
Well, it was, it's always difficult, look, it's, it was a film. The budget of the film is around, 50 grand, you know what I mean? Which is unheard of. That's the price of most shorts. 50 grand, 60 grand, something like that, So, but I paid all the actors equity minimum, but my films are often ambitious. If you go back to Bloodlust, that has about 30 or 40 speaking parts, and so does Pearls Before Swine, so does The Beautiful and Damned. I make epic low budget movies, which is ridiculous because, it's because you shouldn't, what you should be doing on a low budget is making a film in one location with 4 actors, that way you can really, you know what I mean? But for some reason, I like these kind of giant things. So yeah, look, I had, a line producer, Lucinda Bruce, was helping me. So, we did the best we could to find all locations and put it all together, and somehow we got there, mate. And but I think it's turned out good. People who've seen it, you've seen it, haven't you? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I liked it. Yeah, I thought it was a good action film, a great cast, and it reminded me of other revenge type films, etc., with people knocking each other off and all that sort of thing, it's a lot of fun. It works
we
very
wanted
well.
To do something a bit Charles Bronson, Charles Bronson, was, and also I thought John Brumpton was an actor who was a great Australian actor who'd never been, utilized in that way. And I remember when I rang him, I said, look, I want to do a kind of Charles Bronson kind of movie, like a revenge thing starring you. And he was like, right into the idea, because John's like an ex-boxer. So, he can handle himself, and we had a wild time shooting it. We had a lot of people staying at my house. We had Roger Ward staying at my house at one stage. And we would have big cast parties in the house. This place was a complete wreck during the making of the movie. We'd be awake all night doing God knows what, and then we would go out all the next day and shoot. So it's completely wild.
Yes, and you're in the film as well, of course.
Richard Masters. I credit myself in I do Hitchcock in all of my movies. I'm
Right.
in Bloodlust. I'm in Pearls Before Swine. I'm in The Beautiful and Damned. I'm in the documentary because, I think, and I got told off by somebody who goes, oh, you shouldn't put yourself in your own documentaries. Like I said, go watch fucking a film by Werner Herzog. You know what I mean? He's all over it. All I do is put myself in 2 shots where I talk about how I came to investigate the topic I'm making a film about, which I thought was appropriate. And it was like, so what? There you go.
Yeah,
so,
fair enough.
One of the things I like, exactly. Yeah. One of the things I like about, I always love that quote about Lars von Trier. He went to film school and he said, the teacher was like, the one thing you don't do is you don't put you don't put credits telling the audience what's coming. So the first thing he did was put credits, I like that level of defiance. Like whatever they tell you, you're not supposed to do, go do it. Because you can always do it in an interesting way. Yes. And you look at, Lars von Trier's career, he's extraordinary. I mean, obviously he's been a bit sick recently, but he's an extraordinary provocateur, a brilliant filmmaker, nearly on par with someone like Stanley Kubrick. So there you go.
Yeah, no, fair comment. I agree. It's interesting how you've incorporated in The Debt Collector a Nazi group or Nazi reference.
Yep.
And one of the actors was wearing a MAGA cap.
Yep, definitely. Yep. We wanted to send it up a little bit, like we just wanted to, we just wanted to be cheeky and the story is quite complex, and it's something I've considered, because what they did with The Magician was a feature film that they turned into a TV series, and I'm open to the idea. I'm talking to a few producers about it at the moment, about the possibility of turning this idea. I don't know if with the same cast, maybe, but you could expand this, into a kind of TV series idea, where somebody is hunting down sexual predators, and then obviously, when you're killing off sexual predators, occasionally you kill off somebody who's got a relative or something, who might be a gangster or blah blah blah. So that and the whole film itself is really a kind of warning about revenge. That once you begin to take revenge, it spirals out of control, and that's sort of what I was sort of trying to say a little bit with the film. And I think that sort of comes across, I think. But with the neo-Nazi characters, we wanted to send up recent politics a little bit, and the backstory of the main character is, and it doesn't necessarily come from that strongly, is that before he started bumping off these pedophiles in the film, he had gone to Ireland and been part of the IRA. There's like one scene of exposition where he explains that. And when he was there, he made this enemy of this the Roger Ward's character. Now, Roger Ward's character, was like one of those loyalist Ulster loyalists, right? And he had moved to Queensland, and so when he found out that his arch nemesis was in Melbourne, he just jumps on a plane and comes down and starts wreaking havoc with the young neo-Nazi character, which is called Moynihan, or X Alexander Moynihan, or X is his kind of nickname. So it was just a great opportunity to get all these actors together and just to have this kind of spiraling cycle of insanity. And it has got humor in it, even though it's quite a grim film. About 20 or 30 people get bumped off. Yeah. People say it's also my funniest film. So there you go.
There are elements of satire in the film, so I agree with you. So well done. So it's great that you have a distributor like Bounty Films who are willing to get the film out there.
They're doing a great job. And, I've been lucky to have been worked with some great distributors. I've worked with Monster Pictures, on Bloodlust and Last Days of Joe Blow. And I've worked with, Accent Films with The Beautiful and Damned locally. And my film, Pearls Before Swine, has come out, with Soleil Moon in America, and another company up in up in Sweden when I went to the Stockholm International Film Festival. They picked it up when I was there, which was nice of them at the time. And my first film, Bloodlust, has just come out in the UK for the first time through Redemption Films. So that just hit stores. Like, I think he just said the DVDs are sitting in front of me. They go to the stores in the next 10 days. That was about a week ago. So that should be coming out next week, let's say. And so that's come out. Bloodlust and also my film Pearls Before Swine will be coming out in the UK, I think, early next year. So that's nice. It's always good to see your films come out, and I've built up a nice little collection of DVDs. I've made 8 features, so far, which is not bad for being 50 years old. Considering I've never once got a cent from the government.
Well done on that. That's really good. So, are you already planning another
Never one
film?
red cent, mate. Not one penny. No, and I don't get invited to the Melbourne International Film Festival. I don't get invited to Sydney. I don't get invited to. I am persona non grata. I am the Lars von Trier of the Australian film industry. They do not want to know me. But I turn up every now and then. I turn up. If I'm in Sydney, I'll go to Sydney Film Festival. If I'm in Melbourne, I was at MIF the other night, and all these people, they all know who I am. Don't worry.
Yes,
I'm
yes.
kind of
but that's a great part of your resume, ignored by MIF.
Yeah, I always thought that, I'm something, I like rebels, you know what I mean? I'm like, I love Sam Peckinpah and, filmmakers like that who are, real badasses and that's great.
Yep.
Exactly, right? If you're going to go that way, that's when I'm long dead, they'll do a big retrospective and say how they love me. But
I like it. So, are you also now planning another film?
I am at the moment. Yes, I don't know if to give you the title, but I've been working on a new project. It's going to be sort of in a similar vein to some extent, but it's going to contain elements of organized crime, and I've been doing research with some real people who have a background in that area, and I'm trying to make it probably a bit more realistic than the last one, which has a bit more humor and is kind of more of a mythological warning about revenge. This next one I think is going to be more realistic, and I have the idea in my head, and I'm just finishing like a detailed synopsis of the whole project. And I think I'm going to just work from that, because we went through 9 drafts of the script, and then we just improvised on the day. You know what I mean? Like, I really like just getting actors in a space and just saying, and when you work with people like John Brumpton and Roger Ward and Andy McPhee, McPhee is an absolutely fantastic actor. He's done so many great films, and he was in Sons of Anarchy overseas. And I will say something about this. In my film, I reckon he gives one of the best performances he's ever given as a gangster who has his brother killed. And he's excellent in it, and he's great. So when you're working with people like that, but then it's always good to have a blueprint. But Jean-Luc Godard can work from a synopsis. Why can't Richard Wolstonecroft? That's what I say. So I'm gonna try working, and I might shoot it on an iPhone, because this, obviously that film Tangerine is probably not my kind of film, because it's kind of about trans people. It wasn't something I immediately loved, but I did think it was a good film. But I liked the way it was. Sorry, I liked the way it was made, and I liked I liked that it had this aggression, this. It just, had this energy that I thought was very good. And also, I really admire the Safdie brothers. They're 2 Jewish filmmakers from New York who make really interesting films. They made a film called Daddy Longlegs about their kind of dysfunctional father, and they did a film called Good Times with Robert Pattinson, and they did that film about the guy who's the diamond salesman, Uncut Gems. Yeah, I thought those films were excellent, and if I could say the style, and also the guy who did those films, his name is Red Rock. Did you see that film, Red Rocket?
Oh yeah, yes. I know the one you made.
Yeah. It's set in Florida, in the Florida Project. I can't remember. Do you know that filmmaker's name?
I know who you mean. The name doesn't come to mind. But...
We're having a Joe Biden moment. Oh,
I forgot about that. Yes, all right, no worries.
You
Well,
know,
that's
it's on the tip of my tongue. It's something like Sanger or something. Anyway, that guy, that filmmaker is great. So
yeah.
you know, I think this is a sort of bit of a new movement. Also, like Harmony Korine, I'm a fan of Harmony Korine's
Oh, yes,
films.
yes.
He has a sense of aggression. He shot some new film just using kind of infrared. I haven't seen that yet. I don't know what that's called, but anyway, you can look it up online. Harmony Korine.
Yeah.
So you know, it goes. So you know, I want to do something, you know, in this area, and you know, I think Australian films should be a lot more daring, and obviously that's what I've been about supporting at the Melbourne Underground Film Festival.
Yep.
And you know, luckily you always discover films every year that are like that are, you know, new and interesting, and you know, sometimes they go on to be you know, big hits, like, you know, Scott Ryan, who obviously I think made the best TV show since 2000 in Australia with Mr. In Between.
Oh, yeah.
And then other films like James Wan, who's, you know, continues to do great work in America. You know, he did the whole Aquaman series recently, and you know, continues to make really great horror films like The Nun and the Conjuring series. You know, I mean, he's bigger than Wes Craven, bigger than John Carpenter. I mean, quite literally.
Yes.
The Saw films, you know, that Saw films are the biggest horror franchise in film history. It's bigger than Halloween and all that. You know, so who knew? And there you
Yes.
go. The
Okay.
film festival in the world to play the work of James Wan is the Melbourne Underground Film Festival, not the Melbourne International Film Festival, who never give me a call, never even invite me anywhere. How much is it?
Forget them.
You
Forget
know,
them.
for a free ticket, mate.
No worries, Richard. We must. I must get to a conclusion. But is Muff coming up again this year?
Yeah, the call for entries on. The call for entries, the normal deadline is September 20, so that's about a month away. So get those entries in. Go to muff.com.au or Film Freeway Muff. Enter there, and I think then we do the extended deadline for another couple of weeks after that, probably to early October, and then we put the festival together, and it'll be on early December in Melbourne. And you know, and obviously it'll be dedicated to Frank Howson, who obviously we lost very sadly this year. And you know, I'll have to get a new patron. I don't know. I'm gonna, you know, maybe I'll get Sam Newman, who I've been working with a bit of late, or someone, you know, maybe John Michael Howson, who is related to Frank, who
true. Yes.
Yeah, he's great. So anyway, Mr. Movie. So there you go. It's great talking to Mr. Movies, Peter Krause.
Thank you, Richard. We've been speaking to Richard Wolstonecroft, who is the director of The Debt Collector, now out on Blu-ray and DVD, courtesy of Bounty Films. Catch up with it. It's certainly worth seeing. Richard, thank you so much for talking with me.
Always a pleasure, Peter. Good on you. Good on you, mate.
All the best. See you later. Bye-bye.
All the best. See ya. Bye.